So in this case right here at Computex, I was really looking forward to doing a run on it and checking out how it is to build inside this case. And altogether, I really like this stuff. I mean, this is quite cool, I do have to say. So uh, let's say a better ventilation, because the front part can be done as well. You can do this. So today we're going to talk about ANTEC C7 addressable RGB, which has loads of space, has loads of possibilities, and quite outstanding features when we take into consideration literally everything. So I don't know honestly where to start. So I'm going to start with these side panels, and basically the side panel and the front panel. But the cool thing is that you have two mesh parts at the back, vertical, and you have these openings as well. So if you go and place fans here on the top of the power supply shroud, because you can go with 120 and you get screws in the accessory box, you can actually create some sort of a intake from the bottom. And this is really cool because it gives you additional intake for the GPU. And in this review, I'm not going to go with a regular position of the GPU because that's you'll see that in every case. And believe me, with this configuration of fans, this case can actually do quite wonders with this GPU. So I would say around 65, 66 degrees. This is MSI RTX 4080 Super Gaming X Slim. So, but we'll get to the other thermals quite shortly when I finish up the specs. So, 120 here on the power supply shroud, but as you can see, you can place GPU vertically. Now, placing a GPU vertically is really straightforward. You have 4 screws here at the back, you remove them, you rotate the panel. The only thing that you need to do prior to placing the panel back, you have to place the GPU and attach it to that panel, because you have no space to put the screwdriver here at the back, because first of all, the fan is blocking the screws and you have to do it like this. There is no other way. I know we have a possibility in other cases where the screws are at the back, here on the outside of the chassis, here they are inside, because as you can see, if you put the GPU in a normal position, you have a nice cutout here. So this is why this is happening. I mean, this is a regular position. This is something if you really want to go. And the riser is not included inside the case because the original position of this back plate is in the horizontal position. So yeah, do take that into consideration. But one more thing, if you go with a riser that has a PCB board that runs flat, you have two risers, two standoffs, basically not risers, two standoffs in the accessory box that you can place right here to keep the GPU leveled up. Or another solution is grab a small anti-sag bracket and place it on front of the GPU to keep it leveled up. Now, what's it all about with this case? As you can see, the only screws here, apart from the backplate for the GPU, are two screws, two thumb screws here for the power supply. And you have two additional screws at the back when you have the covers for the cable management. Everything else, including this side front panel, tempered glass, front side tempered glass, side back steel plate, and top steel plate, you are just working with pegs. There is literally no screws that you have to do. And yeah, of course, if you want to go with a side radiator, you have one screw here and additional, I think there's additional screws at the back. That's it. That's it. So toolless, this is actually really toolless handling with the panels here on the case. But I need to finish the GPU vertical position, so I'll then go to the side radiator. As you can see, it's placed like so, right? And you have 2 centimeters of clearance in this position for additional fans here on the power supply shroud. Since most fans are 2.5 centimeters, you do need to go with something slimmer. Or, yeah, you can't raise the GPU. The only solution is to have a different type of riser, but I don't think that's possible. So the only configuration that you need to do if you want to go here, you need to have some slim fans. Otherwise, if you go with a horizontal position of the GPU, you really don't have to bother with thickness of the fans, because you can literally place anything here. Then when we go on the side, so we have 2 centimeters here of clearance, which you can place fans. And on the side, we have a possibility to place radiator, but you do have to remove the opening over there on the side, which gives you a possibility to push the radiator further down because the current situation without removing that plate is that it only fits the fans. So removing that, you get the access for the radiator, and the best thing, in this vertical position for the GPU, you have 8.5 centimeters of clearance for the fans, radiator, and additional fans. So you can do a push-pull combination on the side, even when you take into consideration the radiator at the top. Because, well, at the top, I think it will be 7.5 to 8 centimeters of clearance, but I was looking more for the GPU because GPUs are more something that you need to worry about. So vertical position of the GPU, radiator on the side, radiator on top, you're good to go. Radiator on top, we have a Vortex 360 cooling down AMD Ryzen 9 7900 X3D. And yeah, here at the bottom we have ANTEC HCG Pro 1000 watts power supply, and quite digging all the configuration when we go with ANTEC products. Now quickly I'm gonna go with benchmarks, and then I'm gonna go back with specs because I don't want to keep you waiting for the benchmarks. ID64 Extreme Edition CPU went up to 85 degrees, clock speed 4850 megahertz, and the GPU in this vertical position, as I stated, 67 degrees. So in horizontal it's 65, 66, in vertical it's 67, and even without the bottom fans. So imagine if you go with bottom fans, because we have like 4 centimeters of clearance from the GPU to the tempered glass, and it's not getting blockage of air because of the tempered glass. It's really getting a nice airflow, so you don't have to worry in this scenario. It looks good, it cools good, and it can cool even better if you add fans at the bottom. Then we go to Cinebench. So Cinebench, it was quite interesting actually. So Vortex 360 cooling down AMD Ryzen 9 7900 X3D, constant temperatures at 80 degrees, slightly going lower by 79, and clock speeds 4975 to 5000, which in both scenarios it's outstanding. It's really outstanding when we take into consideration the AMD processor, how they usually work. This is great. And then Cinebench scores started at 26,233, ended up at 26,533. In the meantime, in those first and last tests, we had somewhere around 26,400, something close to that, I would say. But that's outstanding because the benchmark in this case really did great, and you can even benefit more by placing the fans on the power supply shroud. Now, since I'm mentioning fans constantly, we have 4 of those coming already packed inside this case. At the rear, we have one 140 addressable RGB PWM fan, and on the side, we have 3 120 addressable RGB PWM reverse fans, which is quite cool. Now, at the top, you can go with 3 120 or 2 140, side 3 120, which you already know, power supply shroud 3 120, and rear 1 120 and 1 140. Now, radiator support, top 360 maximum, side 360 maximum without possibility of 280 because it doesn't support 140 on the side, and rear 120 and 140. That is solid. Maximum GPU length is 450 millimeters, and in horizontal position, when overall AIO thickness is 52 millimeters, the length of the graphic card is limited to 280 millimeters. So now you know dimensions in horizontal and vertical position. You don't have to worry placing a radiator on the side in vertical position. In horizontal, if it's greater than 52 millimeters, you're limited with the GPU. Maximum CPU cooler height up to 180 millimeters and maximum PSU length 210. What I forgot to mention when we were talking about the power supply shroud compartment. Now, this is insane. I mean, okay, you have a possibility to place 210 millimeters of power supply, but everything here at the bottom is completely empty. You have space to cable manage, you have space to reroute tubing if you desire to go with custom loop, if you desire to go with custom reservoir here or distro plate on the top of the power supply shroud. This is insane because it gives you loads of options. But since we're at that point, we have 7 expansion slots at the back, and we have loads of possibilities for storage. So in normal motherboard mode, we have either 3 hard drives or 3 2.5-inch SSD. With micro ATX motherboard that has back connect, 3 again. ATX back connect, 2. So take that in mind. And then additional 2.5-inch, you have normal motherboard position and normal connection, two 2.5-inch, or with micro ATX or ATX with back connect, one. Now at the back we have loads of standoffs to use Velcro ties, well basically zip ties, because you already have 2 or 3 Velcro ties and you get additional ones in the accessory box. So you can do quite nice cable management at the back, reorganizing the cables. And this is important if you go with additional storage at the back. So take that into consideration. Then you have 2 flops, whatever, which cover those cables. And the left one is possible to just remove because you have 2 hinges with rubber, so they don't actually click metal to metal, but there is a magnetic pull. And then the other one is also the same thing, but it has 2 additional screws, and this is what I was talking about in the beginning. 2 thumb screws on the power supply to mount it inside, and 2 screws on that plate. So yeah, it's quite cool because it has loads of space at the back, and we're talking about 3.5 to 4 centimeters, which is, I mean, we're talking about a case that supports back connect, so you're good to go with that as well. I/O panel, front axis and controls. We have power button, LED control button, and I'll get to that point quite soon. But if you have a motherboard that supports addressable RGB, you have yourself a reset button. USB 3.0 times 2, Type-C, 10 gigabit per second, and then we have headphone and microphone combo jack. The case supports eATX motherboards up to 272 millimeters, of course ATX, MITX and ITX. We have dust filters at the bottom covering the whole bottom part. We have them here on the side. On top we have perforated steel, so you don't have to worry about that. And the same thing goes at the back because it's small enough to block dust, but you have so much of them that you can create a decent airflow. One more thing that I need to mention, so if you want to place a side radiator, you have to remove that small cover, right? And to install a side radiator, overall thickness can be up to 70 millimeters. So what I mentioned about 8.5 centimeters or 85 millimeters, you do have to take that into consideration, that it's actually not 85 millimeters when the GPU is vertical, it's actually 70 millimeters. So you're basically limited with the bracket, but that is good because you get the possibility to place fans here on the power supply shroud with that. So it can support up to 2 360 millimeter radiators at the same time. And that'll be all. I have to admit, I'm really surprised with the quality, and not regular what I usually mention in other ANTEC cases, but this steel is much better than prior cases. I mean, maybe I'm totally mistaken some cases and I forgot, but to be honest, this one really impressed me. Clean finish in terms of no damages, no nothing, no flaws when we're talking about manufacturing process or stuff like that. The steel is outstanding. We have 4 millimeter thick tempered glass on the edges over there where 2 tempered glass panels are not colliding, but getting into sort of a contact, are cut by certain degrees, so you have that seamless view, and that's quite impressive as well. I mean, most brands are doing that now, but I have to mention this because it is one of the key points of the case, and basically all the access for the airflow is really outstanding. I do have to admit, I'm really digging everything that we have here. The Toolless design, opening the side panels, the color scheme, even this basically reminds me of the color scheme when we're talking about the anthracite finish on the ANTEC Performance 1 FT. That's really nice, and it goes into that performance segment because it does perform quite nicely in both horizontal, vertical, radiator support, everything. PC Crazy performance badge for the ANTEC C7 addressable RGB, without a doubt. Guys, what to say? I mean, I mentioned this prior a couple of times and I'm going to repeat myself again. It's not about what case you're going to choose from ANTEC, it's just simply they are all really good. They're really getting better and better each time we have a new product. And yeah, guys, links for the ANTEC C7 addressable RGB is in the description, as well as the Vortex 360 and the HCG Pro 1000 watts Platinum You can choose, you can combine, do whatever you want, go with this build. And oh yeah, I forgot one more thing. One more thing, I promise. Two hinges here at the back that you can reroute the cables from the motherboard, nicely time up, and have a clean look and not just cables dangling all around. So that's another plus. And I don't have badges for cable management at the back, so just PC Crazy Performance. That'll be it for today, guys. I know I talk too much sometimes, but it is what it is. So if you like the video and if this helped you decide for your future case and anything similar to that, subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell, and I'll see you quite soon in another one. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.